It's Wednesday, February 6th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On Barnstable Today, we take the trail less traveled, learn more about wildlife education, check in with Mass Hire, and get a census reminder. In 1993, the Barnstable County Commissioners hatched a plan to create a regional system of trails from one end of the Cape to the other. Dubbed the Cape Cod Pathways, the concept was to connect the Cape Cod National Seashore with the Cape's wooded interior. Historic villages and remaining backcountry, we hiked out to Barnstable to learn more.
Contrary to popular belief, you don't stop hiking when it's winter. It's a cold day out here at the Cape Cod Pathways. With me, Will from Barnstable Land Trust. This is a beautiful day. A little cold.
A little bit. Yep.
So, Cape Cod Pathways, first tell us a little bit about what you do at the Barnstable Land Trust.
So I'm the land stewardship coordinator for the Barnstable Land Trust. Basically what I do is I manage the land. We have 160 properties, 1,100 acres of land, all over the town of Barnstable, and I manage the properties. We maintain trails, we build platforms to view ponds, and we just, we provide public access to our properties in multiple different ways as well.
What a fascinating job. Keeps you outside, so you seem to be, not that cold like I am. But this time of year is a beautiful time to get on the trails, less traveled. And we're standing in front of a Cape Cod Pathways trail right now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Cape Cod Pathways, it was an idea initially formed by the county commissioners in 1993. Basically what they wanted was a linkage of trail systems all around Cape Cod to get people out on the land to enjoy the land, to enjoy trails in a long distance format, as well as short distance format. So that's the beauty of long distance trails. You can get out for 30 minutes or you can get out for 5 hours.
Wow, and the Cape Cod Pathways, we're standing up behind the Coast Guard Museum, and I had not known about this. So tell us about this path here.
Yeah, so this path right here, it's about 1 mile, right behind Trazer Museum in Barnstable Village. It's a simple trail. It runs north-south, just through some woodlands. It actually goes over some train tracks as well. There's definitely a couple of vernal pools, a beautiful stone wall that runs through the property, and it just offers a lot in a very short distance hike.
That's great. And one of the things that we're doing out here today is we want to let people know that our Land Acquisition and Preservation Committee, in conjunction with Barnstable Land Trust, are looking for volunteers. You can't maintain all of this all by yourself.
Right. So in the town of Barnstable, Cape Cod Pathways, there's 21 miles of trails. And, over the past couple of years, we've been trying to revitalize the Cape Cod Pathways in the town of Barnstable. And, we've done things like install 14 brand new map kiosks, like the one behind you. We've installed and put up various trail blazes, painted blazes as well, and just done trail maintenance. But now what we want to do is we want to get volunteers out to monitor the trail, all of the trails. And what I've done is I've divided up the trails into 11 different volunteer sections. And we want to get at least one volunteer on each of these 11 sections, or a group of volunteers. And basically what the work consists of is going out to monitor your volunteer trail section, and use a field sheet that focuses on things like illegal dumping, if there's litter, if there's trail overgrowth, what is the condition of the kiosks and things like that. And there's no manual labor or anything like that. It's just simply bringing a field sheet out with a clipboard. You get to enjoy the trail, have fun, and then also contribute and give back to the town and the community.
Right, and what I really like about this volunteer position is anybody can do it, and this is a great one for families.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So I actually just had a new volunteer reach out via email, and she basically said that her and her 9-year-old son come out and they love hiking the trails. So, there are 2 new volunteers right there.
Right. Perfect time for getting your kids to understand conservation and how important it is to their town. How do people get involved with this, Will?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. You can give us a call at our office, or you can, reach me via email. Our office number is 508-771-2585, or you can send me an email at will@blt.org.
What do you have for tips for winter hiking? A hat.
Definitely a hat. So I'm not wearing a hat right now, but you got to wear a hat.
Yeah.
A lot of layers. And, you definitely you still need water in the winter.
Okay.
That's very important. But yeah, just layers. Proper footwear, definitely. And definitely wool socks. That's the key.
That's the key. Wool socks. Keep your feet warm and dry.
Exactly.
Can't feel right if your feet are uptight.
Right.
Thank you.
Foxes, coyotes, and raptors, oh my. All these critters and more are ready to visit your school or organization. Amy Croto, Natural Resource Officer, joins us with her feathered friends. Amy, welcome, and welcome to all the friends at the table.
Thank you for having me.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about what's natural in our backyard for feathered friends and some of the other animals, critters that are out there, and then how people can get your educational program to their organization.
Sure. So back in 2013, our department was looking for a way to expand our educational outreach. We have our Terrapin Head Start program, we have our Learn to Shellfish classes, and we saw a gap where there are a lot of people that recognize that they have wildlife that frequents their yards, that they see when they're in conservation areas or on the beach, but they're not necessarily familiar with A, what those animals are, or B, what the normal types of behaviors are to expect out of your local wildlife. So I got a state salvage permit that allows me to have animals that die in the town of Barnstable mounted, which is your taxidermy that you see here today. And then I also carry a federal salvage permit for the animals that are covered through federal protection, say for instance our occipiters and our raptors. So we started doing talks the first year. The children of Carver Middle School were my guinea pigs, and I had 6 animals in the collection, and from there we put it out to the classrooms that participated in the Head Start program, and over the past, this is now our 6th year of doing talks, we do now close to 40 presentations a year. Yeah.
That's a lot. And just to let people know is that you need a trailer for all of your friends now to get them to all of the events that you go to.
I do. They have their own trailer. It's very posh for a bunch of mounted animals that are no longer with us. And I have 23 animals currently in the collection.
I was just going to ask, 23 animals.
Yeah.
And again, they range from feathered.
Yes.
To fur.
Yes.
So what are some of the, we'll leave these guys for the end because the snowies are out there right now.
Sure.
But the furred friends, your animals, what do you have in that collection?
So we've covered our local wild canines in that we have an adult and a juvenile coyote mounted, as well as 2 red fox, one that is in summer coat and one that's in winter coat. We've got almost a complete collection of mustelids, which are our local weasels. We have a river otter, an American mink, a fisher, often called a fisher cat, even though it's not a feline. And I do have a short-tailed weasel that was given to me by the town manager that is currently at the taxidermist. We've covered our, what I consider to be frequent offenders of backyards, and that we have a raccoon, a striped skunk, a possum, notorious for being North America's only marsupial. And we have a gray squirrel and a chipmunk. And then we get into our birds, which, for my raptors, I have in the hawk family an osprey. A lot of people don't know that they're actually hawk, but they are. A red-tailed hawk, a sharp-shinned hawk, a juvenile Cooper's hawk. And then we have in our owl category our snowy owl here today. We have a great horned owl, a barred, B-A-R-R-E-D owl, and a screech owl in the collection.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what
it's
about
pretty
this
extensive.
guy?
So
He
this
looks
guy,
like a penguin.
he does, yes. So he is called a thick-billed murre, M-U-R-R-E, often called a little auk. And they come down, we're the southernmost of their range. They live in the Arctic for most of the year. And then they'll come down here in their non-breeding season, which is our winter time, in search of additional food and resources. They're related to the puffin, actually.
Ah.
Yeah, and extremely good divers. They can dive to about 600 feet and can hold their breath for about 3 minutes or so. So for a small little bird, that's pretty outstanding. But they're terrible at taking flight. You might notice that their wings are much better suited for helping them propel through the water than getting physically up into the air. So you need about a mile of open water in order to take flight.
A mile.
Yes, a mile. Yeah, it's a long runway. A cormorant needs about 50 to 70 feet in order to get their little awkward bodies up into the sky.
Yeah, that's what I thought
so
the head looked like.
very long runway for these guys.
So when you go out to schools and senior centers and other organizations and events, what are you hoping that people are learning about your exhibits?
So there's a couple of things. So for the older people who may be homeowners, it's learning how to coexist with your local wildlife, learning that there are restrictions in what we will do as a department regarding wildlife that you might consider a nuisance even though it may not potentially be. Learning what your normal behaviors are of your local wildlife and sort of gaining a general respect for the fact that your backyard is in fact the home of these animals oftentimes, and that we can all kind of share and live together. And with the kids, I mean, a lot of it, the time is just getting them to know the basic identifications of the animals at a younger age, and as they get older, they fit it into their curriculum for animal adaptations, which sort of shows you, how each animal fits an individual niche in our ecosystem.
That's fantastic. And when you go into the classrooms, what seems to be the animal or the bird that kids really gravitate towards?
I would like to say that there's one, but pretty much everybody has their own favorite. And it does vary, but by and large, in the beginning, and probably since it's been in the program since its inception, the coyote gets a lot of traction and a lot of appreciation from people.
Yeah, coyotes always getting information, in the news at this time of year as well, because everybody hears them much clearer on a winter's night than they do in the summer.
It's a breeding season,
It's breeding
so
season,
that
yeah.
is what it is. They're noisy right now.
They're noisy right now. So how can people get this exhibit to their organization or to their event?
Sure. So we offer these to classrooms, to libraries. We do programs at the senior center, and for clubs and organizations, nonprofits. We do expos, similar to Community Day, where you have hundreds of people coming through. And if anyone is interested in having a presentation, they can schedule it directly with me, and you can give me a call at the office, 508-790-6272, or you can email me. I'm very email user friendly at amy.croto, C-R-O-T as in Tom, E-A-U, at town.barnstable.ma.us.
That was really long.
It is, yes. We like long email addresses here in town.
We certainly do. And is it restricted to just the town of Barnstable, or can any school or library?
So any school or library can ask us to do a presentation, but because they're out of town, it has to cover my time, which is travel to and from, the amount of time that it takes to set up the presentation and break it down, and then the actual time for the presentation, and that's charged on an overtime basis. So if anyone's interested, definitely contact me for more details.
Excellent. Thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Mass Hire Cape and Islands, formerly known as Career Opportunities, has updated unemployment numbers and a new branding. Executive Director David Agostino joins us in studio.
Historic unemployment numbers with me today, David Agostino from Mass Hire. David, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Paula. Always good to see you.
And historic unemployment here that we've experienced, even on Cape Cod,
Yeah,
even in January, December.
I'm somewhat dumbfounded. I mean, you can only do so much. We'll talk about the November numbers. Those are the most recent ones. But the Barnstable County is 3.5% unemployment. And that's down from 4% a year ago. I mean, that's November. I mean, you just can't go any lower. And, Dukes County is at 4.3 and Nantucket's at 3.7. These are historically low unemployment numbers, and it's great news for people who are looking for work. It's not great news for employers who, even during the winter now, are having trouble filling their positions.
Right, and we're not talking, high-level positions. We're talking, all skill levels. Right down the ladder here is that everyone's looking for bodies.
Absolutely. And I would say that for a lot of organizations, the high-level positions are always difficult to fill in this area. The banks always talk to me about their difficulty, about how they have to go off Cape for a lot of their VP and above talent, and that hasn't changed. But for entry-level positions, for carpenters, landscapers, you name it, our employers are struggling.
Right. So what are employers doing? There's some resources that they have through Mass Hire.
Yes, of course, our Career Center works with employers, and for a lot of positions, we're a pretty good source in that one of the knocks on our system is that we tend to be low end with our employees, and that's somewhat true in that a lot of the people who come to us are entry-level kind of people. We train people for positions, so we can. But we also have people at all levels who are looking for work. So that's a bit of a misnomer, but we do tend to do pretty well with entry-level positions. So we encourage employers to check in with Mass Hire. You can just go to the website and I don't know. It used to be capejobs.com. I don't know what the hell it is now. I think you might be able to still get there. But as an employer, you can go on the website, you just register, and then you can have full access to all the services there. Someone will contact you and help you source employees to fill your jobs.
Right. So, we're talking opportunity here on Cape Cod for employment. This past week was a really cool event that was called Waterworks. It was all surrounded about the blue economy. Mass Hire was a sponsor of that event.
Yep.
How did that go?
It went pretty well. We had, I would say there were at least 250 to 300 high school students who attended. And of course, this is piggybacking on our Construction Career Day. It's the same type of event. Just applied to the blue economy. So we have a bunch of blue economy employers like Hydroid, Teledyne Benthos, McLean, and others who are speaking with high school students and educating them about the jobs that are available in the blue economy. And that's something that we do all the time. It's, the official name for it is career exploration. We do that through our School to Careers program quite a bit, and it's exciting to have this kind of STEM-related activity in the blue water economy being presented to students for their potential employment.
That and learning career paths, what they can do in high school and early college to get through into some of those careers as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's all the way from up to marine engineering and those areas, and lots of stops in between. And it's not all for high school students. We have a ton of boat yards here on Cape Cod on the eastern seaboard, actually. So in the Massachusetts, Rhode Island area, there are a ton of jobs. They're decent jobs for young people, and they're not as seasonal as they once were. There's a lot of year-round work in the marine industry, and so there's everything that to meet individuals' needs, whether it be high school students or college graduates.
Excellent. And while we're talking about Mass Hire, so it was the Cape and Islands Workforce Development Group and then investment. There's been some iterations of the name, but Mass Hire is the new branding. Came out this past fall. How's that going? Is you trying to make the inroads of getting people to understand who you are now?
Yeah, because we have to get them to understand what we were. I mean, especially for our career center. Career Opportunities was well known throughout the region. Right. So it's difficult to get people to recognize Mass Hire, Cape and Islands Career Center as the place now to go for their, whether it's unemployment needs or job-related needs. But we're making some inroads. It's not an easy transition, but I'm very proud of our team here on the Cape. We bought in. I mean, the state said we were going to do this, so we didn't have much choice. But we're really happy to, because, you know, in the global sense, it makes a lot of sense to have the same nomenclature statewide so that businesses, wherever they are in the state, they know Mass Hire is a place that you can go to get help for the businesses and their needs, but also now for individuals, it's the Mass Hire logo. So, and we're now the Mass Hire Workforce Board. So it's not a huge change for us, but you know, the logos change, the colors have changed, all that stuff. But we're implementing, and it's a bit of a slow process. The state, they actually did buy some billboards recently. I saw a few, and that helps. But I'm not sure they're making quite the investment that I would like to see them make in the new brand. I mean, any company that rebrands would spend a ton of money through social media and other communication media to be able to get people to recognize the new nomenclature. Right. So I think they could do a little more with that.
Right. And we'll just reiterate that Mass Hire still has the same mission that you've always had as the Cape and Islands Workforce Development Group, right? I mean, it's the same mission.
Absolutely. We haven't, that part hasn't changed a bit.
Right.
You know, we have a board of directors of some 40 individuals, the majority of whom are local business people who make decisions about how we invest the federal funds for job training and education. So we're happy that that part stayed the same. It's just kind of the external stuff that changed.
Excellent. Well, Mass Hire, right?
You got it.
We're just going to keep saying it until it clicks with everybody. Thanks so much for being with us again today, David.
My pleasure. Good to see you, Paula.
Is that Barnstable Town Census still sitting on the mail pile on the kitchen counter? Even if you don't have any changes, it's still vital that you sign and return it to the town clerk's office. Your next vote could depend on it.
Sign it and send it in, says Ann Quirk, town clerk. That's the census we're talking about. And you're back with important news for our residents. It's census time.
It is census time, and you should be seeing those coming out in the mail soon.
Okay, so within the next couple of weeks, folks will see those census. Let's start with, they're not the same as a federal census, right? They're different.
They are very different. The federal census will be 2020, and they'll be door to door. People will come out knocking on your door, and some of them have a very long, can't think of the word, sorry, having a little brain.
Protracted. It's a
long form that
right.
they need to fill out. So it's much more information than what we use. All we're asking for, are you still there?
Okay.
Who's in your household? And just sign it on the bottom, please, and send it back to us.
And send it back. So there's a couple of things going on with this census and the importance of it. The first off is what some folks might have noticed during the primary and elections this year is that they weren't on the voting rolls. How does that work?
Well, it's state law that we do, it's a mandate that we send the census out.
Right.
If you don't respond to the census, then I have to make you inactive on the voter list. And we try to reach you, we try to get in touch before we do this, but if we can't reach you, then that's the next step, and that's according to Mass General laws.
Right. So if you don't sign it and send it, we're going to just keep repeating this, sign it and send it back,
Yep.
then you, going into elections for or even town elections can be off those rolls, and you won't have a chance, well, you'll have a chance to vote, but it won't be as smooth a process as you're used to.
Correct. You will not be able to just go in and give your name and your address and get a ballot. You're going to have to go and talk to somebody else, show them that you actually still live at that address so that we can update everything on your census and get you back on the voting rolls.
Right. So the census, it's asking for your street address, it's asking how many kids. Why do you want to know how many kids? They're not voting.
Well, that's a good question. The kids are important so that we know what we have to have for our schools. How many seats do we need in a first grade class or a kindergarten class? Or, gee, has this family moved in and now we have new students going into the middle school or the high school? It's all important information. It's also important for for us to know this, because it works with grants that the school tries to get too, to help the students along in their career.
Right. So it also, I would say, probably does that on the other side of the demographic as well for seniors. Now, those are probably your best folks. They still know how to use the post office and the mail, stamps and things like that, but important for them to be counted as well.
Absolutely, because we still want to keep that information available to somebody like Maddie Noonan, who runs the senior center. Can she get more grants for her seniors because she has X amount? Right. And that's how that does work for us. If we don't have that information, I can't pass it along. Right. And it also works as for us, we'll know who the oldest person is, so we can go ahead with the Boston Post Cane Award.
Right.
I mean, it's a lot of things. It's high school students that have graduated and now they've gone on to the military. And in Massachusetts, there's a welcome home bonus for someone who's been in the military and gone overseas. When you come back, I have to be able to prove that you lived here.
Right.
I have to find you somewhere. It's got to be on the census.
Okay. And that also, talking about high school, because this is the time right now for scholarships.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not on that census, how does that affect?
That affects them as well, because they have to prove in a lot of cases on those scholarship applications that they actually reside in the town of Barnstable. Right. So I need to have them on the census so I can certify that for them.
Right. So not only is it, affecting our schools and folks that are moving on from their school career here in Barnstable to either colleges or to the military, but for grants, and I think this grant one is really important that people don't understand, is that by showing a specific segment of population, the town has an opportunity to go after grants based on those numbers, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's huge. And it helps defray the cost so everything isn't falling on the taxpayer.
Right. See? Sign it and send it back, right?
Yes, yes. And if there's any changes at all, just write them on there for us and sign it and send it back. And if you have multiple changes, put a phone number on there so we can call you and say, can you help us out with this one?
Okay. So they can call the town clerk's office. They might get your smiling voice on the phone or another one of your wonderful colleagues upstairs. But basically, we just want you to fill it out, sign it, and send it.
Yes, and actually the libraries have been very good about keeping it for us and having a box there, so we'll make sure we get the boxes out to the libraries again. So if you're going to the library and you don't have a stamp, drop it in the box there and we'll eventually get it from them.
Right, and what if they don't get a census?
Oh, call us on the phone.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
All right. So they can get a hold of you and make sure that they get counted.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Ann.
Thank you.
Now for a look at upcoming meetings for boards, commissions, and committees. Comments, suggestions, accolades? Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. Email us or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works. For you. I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.